Hi, and welcome to the newest episode of Keen Minds, where we're covering the fourth episode of the fifth season of NBC's The Blacklist. This was the Endling. I am Jen, aka Takata Saeko.
And I'm Tessa.
And how did you like it?
I I actually liked it a lot. I got a little squirmish with the horror scene,
I got
especially because we
very squeamish with the horse scene.
yeah, that has been. I mean, blacklisters in general, they kind of make you squirm. But this one is, there is something about hurting children or hurting animals for fun or gain that I'm a carnivore. I'm about, it's fine if you eat, that's what nature does, but gain is not what nature does.
No, she was not doing this for survival's sake. She was doing this for financial gain. No, I was not happy with that. It definitely made me very much against her right up until the end.
Yeah, I actually didn't find him sympathetic even up after the end.
You didn't?
Um, no, I
Oh,
did not.
that did her in for the whole time.
It was a way that she was collecting these people as they were like reservoirs of blood. And meanwhile, she had a perfectly good way of doing this. She could have just gone to the parents and said, "Listen, I am the birth mother of my son, and you have all my blood and you have my heart. And here I am." And she could have just taken a gun and killed herself in the hospital, and they would have done that. That would have been what a good mother and a good person would have done.
I don't
If
think
you
she was
really
a
are,
good person. I mean, I think she was so broken. She was not a good person. I mean, and to look at it from a character's point of view, because there's always two sides.
mhm.
An actor that I like, he plays a lot of villain roles, and he said there's never a villain, because a villain is never a villain in their own mind. They have their own story, they have what drives them. They're not a villain in their own mind, and she certainly wasn't. She was a woman from a war-torn country that had fought like hell to save her child once, found out that once she'd sent him away, he was still in danger, and I think she was just continuing to fight in the way that she knew how. Was it right? Absolutely not. Is it despicable? Yeah, she was killing people to save her kid, like you just said, when she could have done it herself from the get-go. I just don't think that the stuff that she had been through really made that. I think that it never clicked with her to sacrifice herself until Red brought it up. You know, the sacrifice of herself was not at the forefront of her brain. She'd been fighting so long for her to stay alive and try to keep her kid alive
Mhm.
sacrificing herself just never crossed her mind. And
It, you, well,
if it had, we wouldn't have had a blacklister. So
yeah, it was just wrong. I mean, she was doing. Uh, she took down a plane, which I'm assuming there were people who died there. She was going to take somebody's heart. And I didn't find her sympathetic. That does not mean I actually loved the episode. I thought for a while, I thought that maybe they were going to introduce a second baby, and that doesn't seem to be the case. So I was very excited to see that they started introducing the mother theme. In the first season of the Blacklist, we barely got any blacklisters that were about mothers. I think there was just the Good Samaritan. That was one of them.
we
Um,
also had the
the,
one with adoption, the Cypress Agency.
but that was in like parents, not like a bad mother or a good
Okay.
mother. It was not like mother. It was just parents that weren't really equipped to be parents. And I'm glad that as we've gone along, we've had progress and started introducing mother stories, good mothers, bad mothers, and that to me is a way that we're introducing Katerina here. So that to me
It's
was
true.
was a very very interesting way of introducing the subject. Is like telling her you're not going to kill any of these people, but I'm going to save your son. And it reminded me a little of what he did with Cardinal Richards when he had him call the Vem to dispose of one last money launderer, or the only was just him. So I thought it was interesting. It was a well-made episode. I love some of the developments.
Yeah, I agree that they are definitely introducing the theme, and they're working towards a specific goal there. I think sometimes as viewers, it's easy to forget that this isn't just a blacklister in the void. They're telling a story. They are creating they're making you think. If the writers are doing their job, which I think they are, they're making you think along certain lines. They're giving you hints to what's coming. I with the blacklister, I guess we're sort of starting with her. I made the comment. I was talking to a couple people online that made the comment. The roomie, who is more or less a casual viewer, watched it this morning, and I get a text going, "Rad's a dead man," but several of us said they're certainly pointing in this direction, that because I think it was last week or the week before that we went over redemption arcs and the general projection of a redemption arc, of a redemption arc. And one of the typical endings for a redemption arc for someone that has done a lot of bad in their life is a self-sacrificing end. That is how they find redemption. They struggle, they fail, they struggle, they fail, they struggle, they fail, and in the end, their final act to earn their redemption is to sacrifice themselves so that person, X, whoever it is, in this case it would be Liz and Agnes, can survive or can live a happy life or what have you, whatever the story is. And I think that this blacklister, as well as any others that we get, are helping to formulate that story. Whether it ends up that Red sacrifices himself or not in the end, we'll see. But it certainly is meant to make you think along those lines and plant that seed as we move forward.
Even if he hasn't killed himself, he basically devoted his entire life to protecting Liz.
He's nearly died multiple times, all because he's trying to protect her.
What they're gonna do to me that hasn't been done before? Kill me?
Yeah.
So basically, they've tortured him. He's lost everything that he has in order to protect his child.
Exactly. And so, to a degree, we've already gotten this, and I think Liz saw that. And, you had, I'm blanking on his name, that released that was trying to find the cure for his son in season 1.
Frederick Barnes. Yeah, there is a progression from Frederick Barnes when Liz is wrestler tells Liz, that's what happens. You don't give up your weapon. If an innocent person dies, that's what happens. You have to follow the rules. And then at the end, she kills Frederick Barnes. And Red is saying, that's a pity because every story gets two sides. And it's funny how, for those who have read the dossier, she talks about how that decision haunts her, to kill Barnes before allowing him to give the injection to the son. And then from there on, we go into Dr. Covington, and there she fights with Wrestler to allow Covington to finish the surgery so that the lungs don't die and the child doesn't die. And then
she wasn't delivering people at that point. It has been a progression down that road.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't deliver them there, but now she basically delivered the lady, not realizing what was happening. And Red didn't tell her. For all of his statements about not having an ulterior motive, and I don't, whether he did or not, I'm going to take him at face value that he didn't. I'm going to hope that that's true, that he didn't have an ulterior motive. But regardless, he knew he was going to hand the woman the gun when they got there and have her shoot her own brains out.
I think Liz knew. I think when he said, I can't say that
it was subconscious. I don't think she really consciously understood that this woman was going to put a gun under her chin and take the shot. I don't think that she consciously allowed herself to acknowledge that. She didn't admit it to herself.
I differ. I think that once they said that and she lied to Wrestler, that's what I read. She knows what they're doing.
I would say go back and take a look at when the shot went off. She and Nick had almost identical expressions of just abject horror on their face. And if she knew it was coming, we've seen Liz give the stoic impression off.
I think that, all right, maybe I'm wrong, but when I saw it, what I read is she knew what was going to happen. That doesn't mean that it prepares you to see somebody killing themselves. As Red said, that every suicide is an act of destruction that that destroy the people around you. And the only way that this child is not going to be destroyed by it is if he never knows what happened.
That's true. That's probably accurate. And so we go back to if she had just done it in the hospital, I'm not sure that would have been the case.
Yeah, she would have said, "Hey, I'm a donor. I'm her." Just go to the parents and say, "Listen."
Yeah, but I'm just saying what you just said about the kid not knowing, needing to not know about what happened, so it doesn't weigh on him. All he's going to know is he had a heart transplant. That's all he's going to know. Someone died. He got their heart, which is weight enough as it is for a small child to process. But if she'd gone to the hospital and done exactly what she did, I don't know what their protocol would have been. I have no idea what their protocol would have been. But two, eventually, if the parents knew, the kid probably would have known. They weren't equipped to handle something like that. They were normal human beings.
I agree. There was not much on wrestler Samar Aram.
Honestly, the one thing that sticks out for me with Russ is him watching the kid and being glad to see that a child was put back with his family. I think it was a callback to the fact that Wrestler has lost his child and he's lost the love of his life. And we've seen him soften tremendously around children compared to what he usually does. It's sweet. I like the way that they go with that.
That it's a big progression from Frederick Barnes to that moment.
Ish. We've seen him around the kids themselves. He's usually very sweet. He tends to be very soft around them compared to normal Wrestler. Mr. All Business. There wasn't a great deal in Samara Ram. I don't know. I feel like if they were to do a lot with them right now, they would have to put a spoke into their relationship. I don't want them to do that.
I think it's fine. I'm pretty good. That's the way they do things.
I am as well. I'm just don't hurt my babies. I'm happy to have them off in a corner as long as you're not hurting them. It's kind of how I feel about them right now.
You love hurting your loved ones.
I do. I actually got an anon the other day telling me that, and I'm like, there's no lie here.
Oh, I love that character. Let me hurt it.
How close to death can I get you? But to be fair, I do hurt Comfort, and so I beat on them, and then by the end of it, they're typically their significant other or whatever character they have their whatever relationship with. There's a fluffy moment at the end, and so I made a comment.
Oh, that makes it all better.
It does. It's kind of like season 3 with the Keens when Tom got shot. If he had just gotten shot, then that sucks. But, they had a realization. They decided to keep the kid. It was a sweet moment. She understood why he did it, even if she was pissed. It was a growing moment. It wasn't just beating on him. And that's what I do. That's what I'm here for. So it's not just pointless violence.
Good to know.
Not just pointless violence with Jen.
There's a little bit of fluff to go with it.
Have some fluff with your violence. How close to death can I get you before I give you a fluffy moment?
That's how you earn your fluffies.
Story of my life. And of my stories.
So, should we go into Tom first, or should we go into Liz?
Well, I think that so much of what happened in this story, especially with Tom, is through the lens of how it's connected with Liz.
can we talk first about Red and the other black, the real black, the
So much
occasional blacklister?
fun.
I love the postman.
Oh my gosh. Like, I love how pissed he was. And I'm sitting there, this guy's talking to him, and I'm going, Red, sweetie, he doesn't know you. And he's just assuming that he does. And I love that he turns it into this
Crime B&B.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And
There
it's
is
just
Airbnb and Crime B&B.
Have you heard of this? Yeah, me and, a billion other people.
But that was very sweet, because that is like, that now it's Red is the dad telling like, oh, you know about this? Mm-hmm.
What's this book face thing? Facebook? Yeah. That would be Red. He was very much the dad sitting there, and Liz looking to Dembe like, help me. Help me here.
It was a very fun moment, and I love it because Red was wrong. The guy were not there to kill him.
Yep.
I love it because a lot of people tend to think that, oh, if Red said it, it's true.
They take it as
I'm
gospel
sorry.
truth, yeah.
Yeah, that's God. Okay, God, Red, two different entities. And Red is wrong.
Just don't tell Reddington that. I don't think he'll believe. He says that he doesn't believe in a deity bigger than himself. So
there you go. You're right. So it's funny because it just turned out to have been, and it's a great way how you understand how Red built his empire. He's just very good thinking and in his feet. Mm-hmm. He just turns something that could have got really ugly, and finally it's like that. Wait a minute. So you got List. You weren't there to kill me. And, oh, that's a great opportunity. Because if you remember, in 101, he gave up the innkeeper that run a series of safe houses. So now he's filling all these voids that he used to have, because who knows, maybe that's how the innkeeper got started. And then we had another series, like that's how the Sanctum Corporation got started, by providing safe houses.
Yep. Or maybe it's just a new twist. It's, what was it Dumont used to say? It's my twist on such and such? My take on such and such? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what Red's doing right here. He is an entrepreneur. That is what he is. And he takes an idea and he implements it wherever he needs it to best make money for himself. Mm-hmm. And he's just, what was it a Rom called him once? An evil genius. He's a genius, an evil genius, but a genius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have said similar things to that about once a season. Yeah, he definitely has a serious crush on, a mental crush on Red.
Crush.
Yeah.
Such a man crush on him.
A mental crush, but yeah.
Intellectual crush. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Well, in case of Fred, you could say mental. He's pretty crazy.
Oh, God. That'll be interesting.
It was so much fun. The face of that guy when he's like, "You're taking out of my business? No way." Say, no, I'm taking over your business, but I'm making him a lot richer. Yeah. And you realize how Red always chooses, if he has to choose between the fear and the candy, the enticement, he will always go for enticement, and that is something that the graphic novels made very clear. So that was to me very interesting, because the guy was absolutely delicious. And I loved between him, Smokey, Hawkins. I'm really enjoying this crowd. And I can imagine like Stratos Arando, that was so elegant back then when we met him. I can imagine how he was when they met and they both were in their 30s or something like that, running guns to something. And you can see how Red got his empire.
Exactly. And it's, I've said it a couple times now. I find it so fascinating to watch in current day. We're not getting and I'm a flashback queen. I love flashbacks, but we're not getting flashbacks on this. We're seeing him rebuild. It's just fascinating. I love it. I know we're not getting a lot when it comes to mythology, but I feel like watching Red build his empire is sort of filling that void for me. So I love mythology, and that's kind of, scratching that itch for me, that I really like it.
Yeah, it is mythology in a way. Same what we saw when Liz was on the run with Red. There wasn't a lot of mythology there, but what we saw is how Red approaches a problem, and that will more or less inform the rest of the mythology, because it's explaining the universe.
And it's character development.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning more about his character.
Yeah.
So we're about to dive into Liz, because Liz is kind of the big chunk we've got today.
Yeah, this was a very, very, very big episode for Liz.
It's tackling the question of does Liz have a choice on this? And I saw shout out to Whimsy and something over on Tumblr. She had a very interesting post the other day on Tumblr about nature versus nurture. And I suggest, if anybody's listening, to go check it out on her blog. I'm not going to go through the details of it, but it was very fascinating, talking about nature versus nurture, and how encouraging the idea that nature will win all the time is bothersome. Like I said, definitely go check out the post. It's a very, I liked it. But I'm not sure that in the end that's where they're going with this. I think that they're setting it up for Liz to feel that way, to feel like she doesn't have a choice, and then to actually get the choice in the end. And to be fair, she was nurtured by Sam, who was a con artist. I mean, so it's not like she was brought up in a family with a squeaky clean criminal record that
they probably would have returned her.
Kind of like
the guy in the Cypress Agency.
Oh god, poor guy.
I mean, apparently the people who adopted Tom almost did the same.
Exactly, or ended up like Tom with the Phelpses. Just a horrible situation which he ran from. I mean, who knows how that ended? They may have been about ready to return him to the system when he just took off. We don't know yet. And who knows if we'll ever know. But regardless, I think that they're setting it up. I think that they're making it look like, for Liz, from her point of view, nature's gonna win. I don't have a choice in this. I mean, we saw her talking to Tom at the end. She's like, he was right. And Tom's sitting there trying to encourage... I believe that Tom was trying to encourage her there at the end and remind her basically who she is. Who this woman that he fell in love with is. She's kind. She's honest. She's a better person than Raymond Reddington could ever be. And she's having trouble seeing that right now. I think that Liz has the potential to be the best that Red is, and then some. And I think that's what she'll have to accept in herself. Just my personal take as of right now.
I tend to think it's this is hard to put in words. I don't think it's nature versus nurture, because it doesn't matter. I mean, nobody is ever brought up in a void, so you always have a part of it that is nurture, and at the same time, we are the result of the genes that we inherit from our parents. And I've seen this in, I have a sister and a half sister, and they never lived in the same continent even. They have gestures in things that so remind me of my father, that is scary, because there is no way that they got that through their parents. There is no connection. They're so separated in time and in space that there is no way that there is anything. They share similar things with a cousin that, again, has nothing, that never share anything. So
they've never met.
Well, they have met, but there's no connection other than blood connection. So I do believe that you can't choose, because you've been choosing your entire life. Every single step that you've taken is a choice between your nature and your nurture. Nobody ever turns up just that way because my father or my mother. I mean, that is just being lazy. You have an inclination, and you act every day that you make a choice. You make a choice and a determination in how you're going. So I don't think that it's possible to make a choice in that respect. But I do think that Liz is more like Red than she can have been accepting.
Yeah, and I also think that she can take that and do something different with it. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's set up for a life of crime.
I don't think so. I mean, she's chosen to use that crime in order, that proclivity to crime in order to catch criminals. But she will never be the black and white wrestler.
Yeah,
She
that's true.
she has an inability to think like that, because in this case, Red was absolutely correct. There was no good option leaving on the table, and I felt like Cooper was being very simplistic about it, or very scared about his job, or whatever. There is no good way of doing this. There is only the people that she killed, the horse that she killed cannot be brought back to life. So there is no good way of making this right. But at least not allowing her child to die doesn't add to the bad.
In the abstract, I agree with you. In the abstract, I completely agree with you on that.
I would have done exactly
the
same exact same as Red. Here it is, get the gun. Either you kill yourself or your son dies. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I completely understand that on a
Theoretical base?
yes. But you're also looking at Cooper, and let's dive into how Cooper reacted, because Cooper's reaction was, good heavens, Harry Lennox.
That was
man.
A beautiful, beautiful scene.
My favorite moment of that was she's talking about it. She says, well, I'm okay with that, and he says, who cares if you're okay with it? The point was that he was making that they are FBI agents, that they are not in that was something that you just mentioned, not the judge, jury, and executioner. But I just love that. Who cares if you're okay with it? Like, this is not, you're making this personal. It's not. This is your job.
But what was the first thing that Red told Liz when he was teaching her to think like a criminal?
Make it personal.
Make it personal. So that is why Red can catch criminals. That's why Red can function in that world, and that's where things get muddy, because in order to, either we do it for real, we don't do it at all, and in order to do it for real, you gotta think like a criminal. And granted, Red was a spy, and a spy, I'm sorry, but a spy by definition is a criminal. Working for your government, but you're a criminal. Yep. You're lying, you're deceiving, you're threatening, you're cajoling, you're bribing, you're blackmailing. You do whatever you need to do in order to procure intelligence or to disseminate counterintelligence. So whatever it is, you're a criminal. But the funny thing about all this nurture versus nature is that Liz seemed to have forgotten that half of her genes came from a woman she hasn't met. Not that she knows.
Yep.
So we don't. There's a part of this equation that we're missing, and I'm thinking that with the theme of the mother being introduced, we will start seeing Katerina shape being formed, because that's a woman that we only have seen through memories.
Yeah, through other people's point of views. Through other,
I mean,
with the exception of the journal that she left behind, but even that is not it is a first person point of view, but it's a skewed first person point of view, because you're not.
She did it for a reason.
Yeah,
she just wanted to get Rostov to think that she loved him.
she's a spy. You can't trust what she writes in her journal 100%.
Yeah. She's saying, oh, great, Liz doesn't have, thank God that she's a girl so that she doesn't have the thing. She doesn't have the thing because she's not his daughter.
See, I didn't read
even
that.
If it were a son.
I didn't read that at all that way. I think that's how she wanted Rostov to read it. But personally, when she said that in the journal, my thought was that Katerina wouldn't have to come, if she had been, if Liz had been born a boy, she would have had to explain away why little Larry didn't have the gene, or what have you.
Or when and I wonder if part of this of Red taking her had to do with that danger that Liz was facing, that at any moment when she was getting older and taking a stem cell donation was not as dangerous as with a baby, if that became more and more a possibility. And that's one of the things that Red was afraid of.
I don't think in the 80s, in the mid 80s, but I couldn't tell you when the science would match up with that.
I will have to research it.
Yeah, but definitely, I've never looked into it.
Cooper's reaction is very intriguing because he is having a little bit of rubber banding like Ressler used to do. Because, he was a man who actually decided that a guy was guilty and beat him up so he would confess. And he said he was guilty. I didn't do it. I regret doing it, but he was guilty. So that's a little bit of you're whitewashing your past.
Yeah, I think he's also got a lot of pressure on him right now because he's under review. His team's under review, and he's going, "Are you freaking kidding me, Liz? We're under review, and this is what you're doing. You're choosing Reddington." And I think that's really what it boils down to, because he made the comment to her. He said, "You lied to your partners." That's what pissed him off, I think. Yes, it bothered him that she played judge and jury on it. It pissed him off even more that she was, and that's going to come back around for Ressler. Watch it. Because he's been, technically he hasn't been lying to them, but, he's been misleading.
He hasn't been telling the truth.
Yes. Yeah. He's not been honest about it. And so Liz, that's what Cooper was upset about. I feel like Cooper is one of those people that if he's got all the information, he can decide what he can protect, how best to protect them. If coming clean about it's protecting them, if keeping it's protecting them. As long as he has all the intel, he can make that call, and he can protect his team. If people are hiding things from him, if they are keeping things from him, he's not only fighting his superiors and trying to outmaneuver them, but he's also, there are too many moving pieces. Basically, when he's also trying to second-guess his team to protect them, there are too many moving pieces to keep them all straight. He's got to be able to trust them. And that's what he told Samar last year. I have to be able to trust you.
And if you think about it, they all have gone around lying to their team.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but Cooper keeps telling them, and I think that's what it boils down to, is that he's trying to protect them, and he can't do it if he's second-guessing them as well.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly a very, very interesting situation, because you're getting Nick telling her, he doesn't excuse anything, and I take exception, because the truth of the matter with Nick is that, yes, Liz called him. He could have said no. When he realized that that Red was Reddington, he could have just walked away, say, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this," or he could have just honored his Hippocratic oath and simply just save his life, do not take the money, and go, and he would have never been in Red's debt. In fact, that's what Tom recommended. Tom's advice is pretty good in there. And so the fact that he hasn't, he ended up in Red pocket. That's how he ended up attending Liz's birth. That's how he ended up being hoodwinked by Mr. Kaplan into something that was going to, he was lucky he didn't get killed. And then on top of that, now he doesn't say no to Tom. The guy has a problem not saying no. Or he carries a torch for Liz, and then, Liz is Katharina's daughter.
I do think he still has a thing for Liz. I've seen a lot of theories roaming about Nick, and, oh, well, he was secretly giving Red information, and it's possible. We've talked about that. I'm not against the theory, but my first reaction, my gut reaction, was he agreed to it because he's still in love with Liz. The exact same reason he took Liz's call to begin with. This is a woman that turned down his proposal, that ended up cheating on him.
And he was very upset.
Yeah, ended up cheating on him with another guy that she ended up marrying. And, I mean, who she's still with, even if she wasn't with him when he saved Red's life. Regardless, Nick, there's a reason Nick keeps coming back. I think he's drawn to Liz. She is Katharina's daughter, as you just said. And I think that every time he comes back, no matter if he's engaged, no matter what happens, it's because even if he would never be with Liz again, there's still that draw there.
Mm-hmm. There is something about Liz that make people want to, and I think that might have been part of what Katharina sold, because even if we know she was a badass agent, she may have been one of those women that sells, oh, you got to protect me, so you got to do this because otherwise I'll be in trouble. So I have a feeling that Katharina's seduction took whatever shape it needed to take in order to achieve what she wanted to achieve. Not very different, in that way from Red. But I find interesting that the temper that Liz has is coming from her mother. So there is a whole thing about Liz that is coming straight from Katharina. And Red said it. I see her in you every day.
Yeah. Yep.
So
do we want to weigh in on the big Tom question? We've kind of left that to the end because that really is just it. I told Tessa before we started recording today, I said I might get a little snarky because I bit back at someone Wednesday night. It's gotten, this fandom has always been a little bit vicious, and it gets a little exhausting sometimes. I'm trying to be diplomatic. This fandom has taught me so much patience and so much self-control. Here we go. That's looking on the positive side of it.
Yay. That's the way we like to do things.
Yeah. Keeps what little sandy I've got left intact. But, and I knew, I was joking with a friend of mine who's also a big Tom fan, and we both were watching it live and talking back and forth as we were watching it, and said, is it really sad that if we were just watching this in a void, like those beautiful casual viewers that I'm so jealous of, if we were just watching this in a void without fandom influence, both of us said we would have gone, Tom, really? But we would have gotten it. Like, it's a horrible situation. He's in a no-win situation, and he's doing the best he can. Is it the best thing that he can? He is doing the best that he feels like he can do. But as we're watching it, it's being influenced by not even people saying anything yet that we were seeing. We just knew what was going to be said. And an hour or two after the show's airing, I'm getting an anon in my inbox, and heaven knows if the poor soul actually meant to strike me off on this, but they got the full brunt of 4 years of this fandom. But I feel like this fandom, sometimes, some parts, has a habit of completely, and you've said this before, Tessa, just throwing out the genre. Tom Keen is a spy. This is not being questioned. He is a man that makes his living off of finding a path to get to results. This is not anything new.
Oh, that sounds like Red.
We have seen the writers. The writers have just hammered it in over on Twitter that it's coming from a good place. And they've done it in the writing for the show. This is coming from a good place. We have seen Cooper. We have seen Nick. Two outside sources from Tom that are still viewing in, that know Liz, that know the situation, saying, I loved Nick's comment. She goes, but he's my father, and that excuses nothing. The writers have made a huge point to make sure that we, as the viewers, should know, if we're watching it, we should understand that Liz is being not manipulated particularly, but she is being influenced. And that this is causing an issue. This is a problem, TM, and so they've made this very clear. They've hammered it in via Nick, via Cooper, through Tom. And so to say that Tom just in the void say, Tom should just tell her the truth. Yes.
He was going to.
But with the circumstances as they are, just as you said, he was going to, as soon as Red became her father. In actuality, Liz Keene believes Raymond Reddington is her father. As soon as that happened, that's when he shoved the suitcase back and he went into his plan. And it's snowballing on him. It's going to turn out really badly. But you know what? Drama is part of a television show. If everything went smoothly, no one would be watching this show.
Yeah, well, I'm not for those of you who don't follow me on Tumblr or have read my comments on Reddit, I am not a shipper at all. I abhor romantic anything. It makes me extremely uncomfortable. It's one of those things. Please do in private. I don't actually care about even sex in public. Just don't do romantic in public, please. I know.
Tess and I are very different in this respect. Very different.
Very. And I honestly, you see the way that Liz reacts to the idea of family, and you can see that little girl that was left with a perfect stranger and said, and then with no real explanation except your father abandoned you and your mother died of weakness and shame. That's like, oh yes, thank you. That explains so much. So Liz is actually extremely well written because she is manifesting a lot of emotional issues that a child that have gone through that, it's normal that you would experience if you went through this traumatic experience in the fire and whatever happened in the fire. So there is a lot of things that can be explained. And among of them is once Liz thinks that somebody is her family, her instinctual thing is, oh, I'm going to trust them. I'm going to, everything they're doing is good. I mean, look at Kirk. The man was about to throw himself
and their child,
her child, from a roof, which is, to me, meant he only cared for her as, as his child, as his thing, that he was not going to let Red have his thing.
On his terms. He didn't
care for Liz.
Huh? On his terms. Kirk cared for Liz on his terms.
Well, even I think that it wasn't even on his terms. I think it was as a thing, as a descendant, as my child, my descendant, not as my child that I love. It doesn't matter if she's not my child because it is exactly, whom I care for. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's what Red was trying to tell him. It doesn't matter if it's your child. It doesn't matter if it's, my biological child. She lived in your house as your daughter. What would you care if she's not?
Yeah.
So I think that in a way, when people analyze Tom Keene and go all tomfoolery on him, it just doesn't. It's a genre issue. It's a character development issue. I mean, for Tom, the fact that Red is her father doesn't mean that Red has a best interest at heart. I mean,
he just learned that. He just learned that the really hard way through his own
flesh.
family. Which Liz made the comment in this episode. She said, if either of us had normal parents, you know, and needless to say, it's a genre issue, it's a character development issue. It's going to set both of us off.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I mean, it goes without saying. Should have Tom tell Liz the truth? I don't know. I don't really know, because honestly, my own theory is that Mr. Kaplan, if you look at Mr. Kaplan's face when she's meeting Liz in that beach, that's not a face of a woman saying, I'm going to show you the truth and I should have done this a while ago. That's a woman, that is the same face when you have to put down a dog that you love, but you know that there is no hope. And it's killing you inside, but you know that is what you got to do. So and people keep saying she was trying to separate Liz from Brett. No, she already said it. I was so focused on destroying Red that I didn't see that I didn't have to separate you from her. All I have to do is show her the truth, is that the suitcase. So that suitcase will kill Liz, and that will protect Agnes. And you can see in the way that people looking for this suitcase are going to. So if she had delivered that suitcase to Liz, and Liz had been the one starting the investigation in the suitcase, Liz would have been the one now killed by whoever killed Pete.
Well, and I will tell you, and Nick. Well,
Nick.
I will tell you, I had someone ask me today if I thought that the Tom would come clean at the funeral. I said, no, I don't. Because I think that his point of view, where he's going to come from, is someone just killed Nick to get to the suitcase. I am not putting that anywhere near my wife and child. And so he will keep it. It's going to kill him because Liz is going to blame herself for Nick's death. You know she will. She's going to be torn up about it, and Tom's going to be torn up because Liz is torn up and want to comfort her. But in the end, her safety and her happiness are his two biggest priorities. And Agnes's. His family's safety and happiness. And so to do that, he is going to continue down this path. And it's going to get him shot or stabbed or whatever happens, because we've been told that... Nah.
But I don't think it will happen, but it's a possibility.
I guess. It's going to have to happen for me to admit that, to be totally honest, because I just really don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think that he's going to get hurt, but I think he's going to be in a world of pain, but he's not going to die.
And you're going to be shocked, because I'm not even, people are getting all upset about, he took his badge. It's like, what was he supposed to do? Steal the badge from another federal agent?
Hey, wrestler, let's have a beer.
Yeah, or,
that wouldn't have been obvious.
Federal agent, can I invite you for a beer? I mean, come on. It just doesn't, it was probably not the smartest, but I honestly don't think that Tom had understood the level of danger that comes with that suitcase. And he said to Nick, a good woman died, he was saying whatever he had to say in order to get Nick to agree. I don't think that Tom really thinks that Kaplan at that point, when she was willing to put Liz in jail, was having Liz's best interest at heart.
See, you and I disagree a little bit on that, because I'm not sure he is aware how far Kaplan was going to go, because he was still in New York at that point. I don't think he's aware the lengths that Kaplan was willing to go.
You don't think that they had talked about it?
Not at the point that he was giving the bones over to Nick, no. I don't think they'd had time, because Liz was sitting there trying to talk about it, and he was like, so... make out? I've missed you. And she's like, oh, I forgot. Yes. I mean, there wasn't a lot of talking happening there.
But definitely not now. I mean, now they probably have had time to talk.
No. Now, but not when he brought Nick into it.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, he was just saying whatever. I don't think that he meant. It's like Red. Red can say whatever just to get his... whatever he wants.
They share propensities.
So, what were the choices that Tom had? He could have just simply got home, tell Liz, hold on a minute, I don't care who's your father, there's a suitcase that was left to you by Kaplan. What would have Liz done? She would have taken the suitcase and started investigating. You think she would have brought it to the FBI? I doubt it. Liz is highly secretive as her father. She's not going to go that way. She would have investigated. She would have ended up in the same position. What else was option for Tom? Let me go to Red and tell him, hey, Kaplan left me this thing. What do you think I should do with it?
And you know what?
That would have been a smarter.
Red would have told him to keep it from Liz.
Yes. Red would have taken this suitcase and said, this is a big bad thing that was going to get you and your daughter killed. So how about if we just forget about this?
And Tom wouldn't have. I mean, and he doesn't trust Red. I mean, look
Who
at it.
Who would do that? Well, imagine telling your parent when you were like, don't go in that room. You know what you're going to do, right? Go in the room.
And if for nothing else, that Red has never been straight with Tom. He hired him without... I mean, and don't get me wrong, I understand Red's reasoning for a lot of this, including the fact that he didn't... I mean, Tom was just a hire at the beginning. But, I mean, he never told him what was going on. Long after everything had happened and Liz knew who he was... Red has been sabotaging and manipulating, and Tom has distrusted him for a long time now, because even if I think that he's kind of come to the conclusion that Red is not going to actively come after Liz and be a danger to Liz, that doesn't mean that Tom doesn't believe that that Reddington is not a danger to Liz. I think that he fully believes that life because he's lived that life. He knows that life. He is aware how dangerous it is, and Red sucks her deeper and deeper into it every day. I think that terrifies Tom.
Yeah, I think it's a very appropriate moment to remember, even if you don't subscribe to my theory that Emma is Jennifer, you have to remember the words she said. It was a captivating and fun, and I kept crossing lines after lines until I couldn't come back.
Yep.
So I think that
and she lost everything. She lost her son, her husband, everything.
Yeah, it's something that you gotta remember that Liz is now, I think somebody made that comment, this is like the baby monitor. Oh, it's just like a baby monitor. No, Liz, that man has your daughter and he thinks it's his grandchild, and if he decides to take stem cells from her, might kill her.
Yeah. I mean, you and I talked a lot about that on the podcast during the episodes, and I made the comment with my Anon on the night of the episode airing. I said, we saw what she did with Kirk. We saw this. We saw the fact that she was willing to accept a quote-unquote baby monitor over a potential lead that might take them to their child. She told Tom to stand down because they might lose the feed. Well, okay, that's nice and all, but what's the point in having the feed if you're not going to follow up on it? I mean, if he had found Agnes, she wouldn't have been nearly as angry. She would have been hugging him and kissing him and thanking him and telling him, and she might have even admitted to being wrong at that point.
Well, it's one I find very telling that Red, who has never been Tom's greatest fan, exactly, said nothing. He's commented on Kirk's cruelty and said nothing, because he would have, how can you fault a father for trying to find his child?
You can't. Well, I mean, you can, but he can't.
Yeah, you can, but it's tomfoolery. It doesn't stand to reason. And the same thing goes with the badge. Once Tom, he only had 3 ways to go about this: tell Liz, keep the investigation to himself, or tell Red. He chose to keep investigation to himself, and once he went that way, there was no other way. No other way was less dangerous except going to Red. And let's face it, Red hasn't exactly been forthcoming. So how can you trust anybody who tells you, "Oh, you cannot do that"? Why? I can't tell you. Don't go and don't tell your mom you're the child. Why? I can't tell you. But don't do it.
Yeah.
And Tom actually believes a lot of what Red tells him. He didn't tell Scotty that he was her son until never did. Howard did.
Yeah.
So you can't. I mean, he as much as come from trusting Red, I think he trusts Red more than he should, because given the history they have. So I think that the only thing he has is, I think he's always believed him to be Liz's father, but in his experience with parents, not a good thing. And once he had made that choice, and he needed a badge in order to identify the remains, he did this. Should he have asked Liz at that point? Maybe. But at that point, if he had given the suitcase to Liz, Liz would have done the same thing. So what is the difference? Don't go looking for things that don't exist, because the end result would have been the same. And Liz would have gone at it in a far more frontal way that would have got her in far more danger.
And so in his way, he is attempting to protect his wife and child. And just because we're not seeing Agnes does not mean she's not there. I hear a lot of grumblings around the fandom, and
oh my God! But when she's there, because she's there. When she's not there, she's not there. She's gone the way of Hudson. Oh, please, people, you can't be pleased.
You really can't. That's basically the Blacklist fandom in a nutshell. You can't please everybody because everybody has a different.
Oh, we got a romantic scene between the kings. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, see, they don't have a romantic scene between the kings. They're not really a couple. Oh my God. I mean, come on, decide. I mean, but why waste logic when we can hate? Hate is so much easier than logic. And so much more satisfying for that nice little grumbling in the stomach, instead of using the thing that actually distinguishes us from animals, rational thinking. But that's a subject for a complete different podcast. We may have to invite Auntie Spoofy here.
Goodness. Oh. Mm-hmm. I'll bow down to Tessa on that one. That was good. I liked that rant. That was quality ranting there.
From time to time, you get that angry that you're like, I can take somebody not liking a character. That's perfectly fine. But you can ignore what the character is doing, and you certainly can abstract the genre from whatever you're watching, because that is like me going to watch a Bourne Supremacy, and where's the romance? Oh, I can't take it. There is nothing romantic in here. Guess what? It's a spy movie, so I'm gonna get like 3 little moments. That's it, and that's just for character development, not because it's a romantic movie.
You know, we didn't get one kiss in season 4 for King Square fans. Not one. We didn't. Now, were we hating on the writers? And, we were all kind of bummed over it. But we also, along with I'm bummed about this, you also got with everybody, I get it. They're not in a place that, jumping each other is appropriate. Their child was missing, and then this happened, and then that happened, and all of season 4. We got it. We didn't freak out at the writers. We didn't scream and pound our fists. It just... I don't know.
To me, it comes down to this. If you can predict things on the Blacklist, your reading of the characters and your reading of the situation and your reading of the genre, it's correct. If nothing that you have predicted have happened, you're probably coming from hate. And hate will not get you a theory. That's called a ranting. Not a theory. A theory is based on logic and events and clues followed through a rational process. That's my second part of the rant. I'm done with ranting. Jenny's bowing to the rant.
I am bowing to the rant. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
I love that mix of danger. Like they go into Nick, and it's like Nick is like, "Can this family leave me alone?
Poor baby just wants to get
You,
married.
your daughter, and your son-in-law. Can you just go away from me?"
Can I cash in now? Go away. I said, I want to know what Ellie did to keep the Keens from ever calling her for medical advice.
Probably the same thing.
I mean,
I want you and your crazy husband away from my entire life.
No, she came to the funeral, so you know that they're still in touch.
Probably
not anymore. She probably got really
She was
pissed.
wearing red underneath or something, like one less, yay!
One less Keen. No, but I want to know. I mean, when she walked off, she must have really given Liz the, the full.
And then, oh wait, you're not dead.
Well, neither was Tom.
And used the courier, the freelancer to change her name, or went to the Sanctum Corporation to get away from them. And the funny thing is, what Red has become dangerous to everybody because of his secrets and the things he keeps. And yet he keeps keeping more secrets, and Tom and Liz are becoming just like Red. Because neither one of them is normal. They don't come from normal families.
To be fair, Tom has been a lot like Red. Tom and Red have a lot of things in common because they come from that same world. And as much as Tom wants to be normal, nature or nurture has not allowed for that.
They're going to go back and forth between nature. I want to be normal. Well, I can't be normal. I really miss being a spy. Well, I really want to be. It's normal. Everybody does that.
Their version of normal, and that's what you and I have been saying for over a year now. They have to find their version of normal. And what have I been saying so far this season? This season is about Liz finding balance. She's finding balance. That's what she's doing.
Yeah, and he's gonna go back and forth, and everybody is being pushed in different directions. You're getting Cooper being pushed by the new director. They almost got all to jail. They almost lost everything they had, including their reputation. And Cooper had that beautiful line delivered amazingly by Harry Lennox about where do we go to restore our reputations. And Panabaker was like, I don't know. It's not my problem.
I am not connected to
We'll
this.
We'll miss you for Bridge.
I know, right? It's just chaos. And I really hope that we don't get left on a. I'm hoping Tom's life isn't hanging in the balance as we go into the Christmas hiatus. If it is, I'm gonna jump. Like, you guys won't see me over Christmas hiatus. I will just be in my bunker hiding with my other fandoms because I won't touch the Blacklist fandom with a 10-foot pole.
Well, every once in a while I go into I need a break.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up. Do you have anything to add?
I don't. I really like the episode. I really like where things are going. And we do have one thing to count. Do you think by any chance that Nick was killed by Ren?
That was not my go-to. It's possible, but that was not my go-to. I think there's a third party. It would be interesting if it were Red. I would not be against it. Because but I also think that Red is much more straightforward than that. If it were
he wouldn't cover his face with a mask.
Obviously nobody recognizes him. Poor baby.
that was a very. I gotta say that I do have something to add. I love that because it was a great way. A lot of people have been saying, but Liz was on the news. How come nobody recognizes? People don't recognize anybody. Think about a scandal from 3 months ago. You won't recognize them.
Nope. I couldn't tell you who's on the most wanted list. Could not tell you.
No, I tell you something. Even if let's say that you're walking across the street and you come across one of the former presidents of the United States, and he's not dressed in the suit and tie. He has his thing. Would you even recognize him? Somebody that you see daily.
I live in the same city as George W. Bush, and I assume I would recognize him, but who knows? I mean, if he were just in a polo and jeans walking down the street, I don't know.
I once ran into Paul Newman in Central Park. And when I mean ran into, I mean ran into. We literally were walking, looking in the opposite directions, and I walked into him and he into me, and we had to like hold on to each other so it wouldn't fall. And I remember looking at him thinking, boy, that is a nice, handsome man. And then I kept walking, and a couple walking a half later, say, that was Paul Newman, and that woman looking murderously as me was his wife. I didn't recognize it. I'm living in New York, and I sit down in a restaurant. Somebody looks familiar, and I can't put my finger on it. And 2 days later, he's like, I know who that
People
is.
out of place. I ran into. I'm a big fan of BBC Sherlock, and I don't remember the actress's name. But when I was in London last year, I passed the actress that plays Mrs. Hudson on the street. I think she had a bag of groceries in her hands, and I stopped, and she kind of paused because I'm staring at her like a crazy, Yankee. And she got this look like, please don't ask me, please don't. I just want to go home with my groceries. And she ended up keep going on. I would have had to have yelled, and like I said, I couldn't remember the actress's name at that point. I would have basically had to have yelled, Mrs. Hudson. And seen if she turned around, which thankfully I did not. I kept my wits enough to not do that.
Yeah.
Poor woman. You miss when they're out of place. You don't always recognize people.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was very well done that they actually addressed that issue.
They often do,
and they had head up, and it was well done. The other thing I want to mention is, and I know that I've been slacking pointing out the symbols and themes that I used to do a lot, but we've had a lot of plaid. It's almost like everybody wear plaid in the blacklisters. But there was also something that caught my attention because it's something we haven't seen a lot of it. Red and Dembe are playing Scrabble, which is a form of a puzzle. You basically are assembling a puzzle. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very, very, very intriguing. And among the things that were, the fact that they were mentioning like restoring the balance, and I thought, well, wait a minute, because having this woman not be taken prisoner would not have restored the key of the universe, the chi of the universe. And protecting the sun was the right thing to do. And it was funny that that's the one thing that Denver wears. And they were talking about bananas. So banana was the safe word. And I love that when they put those little details there that just like draw you in and remind you. And I think by connecting and creating those they're picking up those threads. They started with Liz in Frederick Barnes, then they went into James Covington, and now we have Liz making her own decision. People think is Red, but it's funny, that's what Kate said. That's Red talking. And people don't realize, actually, Liz is yes, she can be a little influenced, she can be a little like giddy, but Liz is Liz, and she's been doing whatever she wants to do since she was 4 years old, or probably it's her entire life. That's how because she got out of the closet. Had she not got out of the closet, she wouldn't have shot anybody or whatever it is that she did or didn't do.
Yep.
So that was it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, and that wraps us up. You can listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube if you'd like to leave us a comment, which we very much encourage. We're on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. Until next time.
All
right, bye-bye.